Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Foreign Takes. I'm here with my boys. Who's here with me?
The gains God, bro. That's what's here with you.
The Gaines God. Wow, that's a new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Who else is here?
KG, a satisfied Man United fan. I'm not doing any gains, but I am gaining positive emotions today.
Oh my god. Honestly, we should just jump right into it. I feel like it's been an interesting weekend. There was a battle for what a lot of people would say is the fourth or fifth Champions League spot. And that was Aston Villa 1, Man United 2, a
Yeah.
Scotty, aka the Scottish Maradona winner. KG, thoughts on the game overall?
Dun, 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 dun. Scott McTominay. Dun, dun, dun,
Oh,
dun, dun,
bro, look at who's singing Scott McTominay songs. His biggest hater and detractor. Like, how do you
dun.
Oh, how
I
do
mean,
you have the nerve of this man to be singing Scott McTominay songs?
I have to say, we discussed this before, and me and Whitey both agreed on one thing. He should play as a top, like a number nine, and Ten Hag should utilize him that way. This is exactly what he did this game. He just put him on. They played 4-2-2, so it was Garnacho and Fernandez playing more wide, Mino and Casemiro as CDM, and then Scott McTominay and Hoyland played as a double pivot up front. And he did his job. He came in, he headed it in. That's the only thing he can do. Great win for United. They have a shot for the top four. They had a great bounce of great results for the past 3 games, 3 wins. Hoyland scores. United are beginning to roll with all the injuries hopefully behind them. Sadly, Shaw got subbed. That also, you've seen the effect, right? Rashford became completely non-existent as soon as Shaw was off.
Non-existent, useless.
Useless. Like once Shaw is playing, you can see that he does something because he just makes those runs. Shaw's losing his fat by just making those runs without anything. But then when he doesn't have that, when he has Lindelof or anyone else for that matter, Rashford becomes incompetent and useless.
I have to say this midfield three you've been starting of Casemiro as the true I think we would say six,
Mm.
Menu as kind of with him as a double pivot, but he's almost as an eight as they're the base, and then Fernandez gets to float as the attacking midfielder. Seems to be working, right? I feel like it's experience. There's youth. There's Fernandez's creativity. It seems like you guys have unlocked a working midfield trio in many
Yeah,
ways.
it works in many ways, and I don't know what they're gonna do in terms of wingers. Like at the beginning of the season, you will look at it and you would see that they have Garnacho, they have Sancho, they have Rashford. Anthony should have had a better season, and now in reality, you only have Garnacho. You don't have anyone else out of all of those people. So, and with playing of two up front or doing McTominay things or whatnot, Fernando's creativity gets lost sometimes, but he is a very efficient midfielder, I should say. I don't know. They had 3 good results. I don't know. It's more important for you guys than for me, probably. I mean, it is important, but next weekend they're playing against Man City. So can they take that momentum and take some points off of them away that they had?
Bro, I
I believe
hope, but
so.
like every time it happened, they shut the bed.
Yes.
Not
Like every time I was hoping United would at least get a point from the city, they like soiled
no.
themselves like a 90-year-old Florida
I
retiree.
disagree. I disagree. United. United.
When did they ever come through to help?
Ole
Like,
won. Ole won the Man City twice. Pep couldn't beat Ole. They drew with them on Old Trafford. Pogba came
that's
back and they won
ancient
three
history,
two.
bro. That's
That's where you didn't compete. That's why it
that's
was like it's
ancient
like
history. Yeah, that was like 5 years ago. Like you gave me like a Putin answer. In 8th century BC, Prince Rurik took points off Pep Guardiola. Like that
Ole
doesn't
was
matter.
2 years ago. Ole was 2 years ago. It's not ancient. It's 2 years ago. Literally, the previous manager did that.
But okay, now looking forward though, I mean, the truth is, I have no expectations, right? Like, so let's quickly touch on the City wins. The City won at home 2-0 against Everton. They just look like they're back, right? This feels the start of their bullshit second half of the season, 18 wins in a row
Yeah.
run.
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, the thought that came across my mind, and you said this before, Wait, it's I don't like Pep's teams not because they're winning all the time. It's because their football is not interesting. It's boring.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
boring. I think I shared a reel in our chat where it was some game and it was just flicks and tricks and it was just this period of time of football where people were winning with flicks and tricks. Even Barcelona, that was Pep's Barcelona that did tiki taka, it was very soothing to watch. It could have been like borderline boring, but it was beautiful. There's more technique to it. Whereas with this City team, the players that go there, they lose their, like Riyad Mahrez. That's the real that I was talking about. Riyad Mahrez was a baller at Leicester City. Like everything he did was golden. Like the touch, the pass, and then when he went to City, he just became this regular dude who plays under Pep Guardiola in a certain position, is expected to do the same thing. It's akin to what the NFL is. Like you do a
Yes.
run, you run 5 meters, you stop there. That's what City do. It's very well run oil machine. It's very interesting, but it's not natural. It's not
It's a
football.
system, right? It's a
Yeah,
system team. It's not there's no brilliance. I agree. I
except
really
for
listen.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Except yes, but
They-
then that's because it's Kevin De Bruyne, right? Like you
yeah,
have to. It's like trying to restrict Messi. And I'm not
yeah,
equating them obviously, but I'm just saying like in the midfield you have to. So we'll see. I think the other game today was also an interesting game, which was West Ham 0, Arsenal 6.
interesting game for you. For you,
You know what it is? Honestly, when you see the halftime, there was like a screenshot. I think it was like maybe 40th minute, and it's just the West Ham fans streaming out on the bridge.
end of the first half. Yeah,
End of the first
end of the
half,
first half.
and that's just that's all you need to know about how that game was going. If you just that one picture said everything. It was.
Yeah,
I think the end of the first half was 76% possession, and West Ham had I think one corner, zero shots on target. Literally, it was like nothing. They had not done a single thing. That's
they
how
didn't show up.
dominant.
They
They
didn't show up.
just
They
didn't
stayed
show
at
up.
home.
But honestly, it felt more than they didn't show up. It felt like they had thrown the towel in. Like it felt like there was like they had given up playing for any pride for the team, for the manager, for the fans. It just felt like their bodies were there, but nothing else was there. Like
Yeah,
honestly,
it was completely a blank performance, I would say.
yeah.
Do you think that they're giving up on David Moyes?
Yes. I think Big Lev had really called it out a while ago. I think it was like the end of the last season. He's like, he was really adamant, like, he should leave. And I think you and I were beginning to get there about Moise should leave. But after watching them today, because, I've watched them enough times to be like, some days they're hot, some days they're cold. But today, it wasn't just cold, it was like they had given up. Like, they're not, he's done. They've thrown the
He's
towel
done.
in.
It, it looks like he's done. I think that he was done last season. There was a similar performance towards the end of that season, last season, similar to this, but they were 14. They had a good stretch of results in the beginning of the first half of the season, but then this year, like it's been like already 2 months in 2024, they have 0 wins, 1 or 2 draws. They drew Sheffield United away. It's just like it seems like they're not playing for the manager anymore, and it's time for him. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
he looked heartbroken on the bench. To be honest, there was a moment you see him, and it wasn't just like he's angry or anything. He just looked sad. Like even
Yeah.
I think we were up 4 or 5 goals. Like
Mm.
I was happy, obviously, but then you see him, and you just like you feel bad for this manager who's just sitting there looking at his team, being like, "What more am I supposed to possibly do?" I don't know. I did feel a little
His
bad.
his subs didn't work too. Like
Not at all.
he put on Calvin Phillips, who was pre this match said that, oh, Pep Guardiola called me fat. I didn't feel bad. He was saying the right thing, but you could have said it in a nicer way. Like essentially, this is what he said. And then he came on, and the whole point of like the subs that Moyes did, if you look at it, it wasn't a sub of like, oh, let's go get a goal, let's go try to get in this game somehow, let's show them what's up. He substituted literally a center back and Alvarez as a defensive midfielder, and he put on Calvin Phillips and Mavropanos to shoreline the back. And literally, as soon as the second half started, Arsenal scored fifth and 6 goals. And that CDM spot was so empty. Like the Kai Havertz was accepting that ball straight behind the 4 midfielders of West Ham. Like you put on a center defensive midfielder who's supposed to cut off those passes, and he's just being too busy eating McDonald's. I don't know what
it,
he's
it was
doing.
embarrassing, right? Honestly, like here's the thing: people are going to see that West Ham, and like it's one of those unfortunate things. Like West Ham played terribly, but Arsenal also played to the maximum. So the two
Yeah.
combined, like if it was just Arsenal had an okay game, but they were terrible, it would have been 2-3-0 or the other side. But it was. You're right. And I think the switching between Kai Havertz and Leandro Trossard on the left midfield attack
Yeah.
position and then the false nine, it looked like West Ham had never seen players switching positions before. Because you're right.
Yeah.
Like, whether it was Alvarez, whether it was even Ward Prowse at many moments, how do you get overwhelmed when you have 8 defenders versus 4 forwards and they were still getting completely, they were losing it was honestly a little embarrassing, to be honest. I felt
Yeah.
like there was a little bit of pride missing from the team. But as far
Yeah.
as Arsenal is concerned, 10 out of 10 performances pretty much everywhere, honestly
Yeah,
speaking.
Arsenal did what they had to do to the max. Like, there's no point in talking about Arsenal. That's how bad the opposition was. Like, it's not that Arsenal like over-edged them in a 1-1 situation. They scored 1 or 2 and showed resilience. It's just they beat up a little kid. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what it looked like.
It really
And
did feel feel like that.
Yeah, but like this is the perfect opportunity for West Ham owners to sack him. This today is like the best thing to do. The next thing to do is just to get rid of him. I know they have the Europa League. You know, you're sixth. Like if you bring in someone else, he's not going to finish you lower than 12. Just let him go. Let the poor man go. They're not listening to him. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, just to wrap up the top three, the other win yesterday was Liverpool at home against Burnley. Liverpool had three, or as Big Love likes to say, Nunizi, Darwinizi for 20 for president.
Darwizi, bro, Darwizi. How can you
Darwizi.
not learn? Yeah.
Big Love, overall thoughts on that game? It seemed like a pretty routine win, in all honesty.
It seemed a routine win, but honestly, I wasn't a fan of how many chances Fofana had. The defense fell asleep twice, so that's something to work on definitely. And I don't know, man. Overall, good. I think what's a theme of Liverpool this year is very good substitutions. You saw Harvey Elliott come on, make 2 assists, basically turn the game around. But we need Salah back. I think we're lacking creativity that we had before, and Darvizi remains as frustrating as it was before because he missed like 1-on-1, and then this goal he scored was not an easy goal to score. He had to twist his head back and kind of head it in. So yeah, we need those people back. There's still a lot of people injured. Salah is injured. Soboslai is injured. Thiago went back to that. I don't know. I think he had just like some unfinished business as a ghost in this world, and I guess he finished it.
I think he just likes the nurses, the attention that he
Yeah,
gets from the nurses. He's just like,
yeah, bro.
I don't get enough applause from the crowd. I'm just gonna go back.
So
But it's like when you think about it, it's like you're missing obviously your best forward Salah, and then arguably your best midfielder in Szoboszlai, and you guys are still continuing. So it's a good sign, right? As far as Liverpool's concerned, it's like you're gone through the dangerous patch where you knew that you're missing players, and you've come out basically outside of the obviously the Arsenal loss. You're still only 2 points behind, or you'll be 1 point behind City after City win their next
well,
game. So it's a pretty good
If
position.
that's the
if
frustrating part. We came out to this period, a really hard period, when there's a lot of games without Salah and a lot of people injured. Only lost one game. You can't like. That's very losable game. You're not gonna plan to win at Emirates against this Arsenal, and then we're still kind of behind. So
Yep.
that's bullshit. In my
The only concern I would have for Liverpool is their defense, worries with Trent and all that. That's the only concern looking at Liverpool I have. Going forward, they're a well-run oil machine, but at the back, I mean, I really did not expect them to concede from Burnley. I really didn't. And I mean, they turned back because, I mean, it's Burnley. Burnley can only probably muster one goal. But there's nothing to say against Burnley as well. Burnley are getting relegated. It's just a
It's
matter of
done.
time until they
Yeah,
do.
I think
I
they're
had a
done.
question for both of you. So now this is officially now with Aston Villa losing, Tottenham overtaking them in the fourth. By the way, last minute winner against Brighton, Brighton falling down towards Newcastle. We're seeing this separation now for the fourth and fifth spots. It's between United, Aston Villa, and Tottenham. That's to be decided in the next stretch of the Premier League games. But for the next period, we have a top three title race. It's Liverpool, Arsenal, City. How long do you think it's going to be a three-horse title race? Until when, essentially? Until what's your cutoff, and when it's going to be a two-horse or one team completely running away with it?
I think till basically for another month and a half, till closer to the middle of till
March.
late March, mid March.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a 3 horse play until one of them is going to drop, and then it's going to be two. I think,
Yep.
but yeah, I think they're going to keep this up. I think the truth is, like, as much as we dislike City and they're going to got inevitable wins, there are teams that can punish you. They can lose to Wolves, they can lose to Brentford. So people will still pick up points against them. So I think there's at least another month and a half, 2 months when it's a three-way race. But at that stage, I think realistically, sadly to say, one of Arsenal or Liverpool are probably going to drop out of the race at that
Who,
stage.
by your, I mean, I know you both of you are biased, but who do you think come mid-March, April 1st? Who is the top two horses? Who is the third? Following along, hoping that they're going to drop off even third.
I mean, obviously, I think I can speak for both Big Lev and I. I hope it's Liverpool v Arsenal who are still in it, and
Yeah.
City have been the ones. I think we can all dream, right? But as in looking at just like the not as an Arsenal fan, but like objectively, I think Liverpool have so much more depth up front. Like they have their starting three, they can rotate another 4 players. I think that might play an edge. But that's my brain speaking. My heart says Arsenal. I think like this year we can keep pushing to the very end.
Well, both my brain and heart says Liverpool will stay in. But here's the thing, okay? March, City are playing Liverpool at Anfield, Brighton away, Arsenal at home, and then Aston Villa at home, and sprinkle in some. They're probably gonna have the quarterfinals of the Champions League there. There could be a point, very unlikely, where they might lose 2 out of those 4 games, and then suddenly they're the ones that are kind of on the out and out.
Yes.
But I think March 10th, Liverpool City. If by then Liverpool are not ahead or they lose that game at home to City, there's a bigger chance that Liverpool falls off by April.
I think that all the three teams have like Champions League and Europa League games, so that's going to be interesting to see how much playing midweek back now, because it's been 2-3 months
Yeah.
without midweek, how it's going to affect them. Because City can also drop off. I know they're not going to drop off against Copenhagen, but the next round, if they get like an Inter Milan or Atletico Madrid, like
Yeah,
they
but
can.
you'll have to play that round, and then
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
very far in. If you're playing quarterfinals, it's already kind of the only thing
Yeah.
left is semifinals in like April, May.
Wow.
Let's
You'll
see.
thank me next week when United take away points from City. We'll just thank
Well,
you.
listen,
Scott McTominay,
Do it.
93rd header.
Do it.
3-2. Scott McTominay, and you're all gonna sing the Scott McTominay song if that happens.
I will happily. I think Big Levin. I will happily sing it if
Yeah.
you guys do that next week. Let me tell you that.
Do it in one. Well, so
yeah.
the thing is, Liverpool has pretty cakewalk schedule between now and when they play City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
if they
think you
don't
see-
win all the games between now and then I think then it's fair to assume that Liverpool drop off.
See, this
I
is.
mean-
I would say I would have said something similar for Arsenal because we play Burnley and Sheffield, but we also have games against Brentford and Newcastle interspersed. So it's one of those where you go for like, there's no easy game. I think is something we've learned.
Yeah.
Right? That's yeah. Someone can say, oh, Sheffield, but like they can still show. But outside of maybe Sheffield and Luton, and again we had to struggle with Luton. It's like every team can beat you. That's the thing. It's like every team can beat you. It's so that's why it makes it so
Yeah.
difficult to predict.
I would say Nottingham versus Liverpool away. That's before the Man City game is going to be tough because Nottingham's probably going to be fighting for relegation already seriously there. That's the only Liverpool tough game that they have previously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with Big
It'll
Lev,
be interesting. But again,
It will be
it
interesting.
feels like we have a good year, right? This is the second year in a row for the Premier League as far as I know it ended badly last year, but like it's at least pleasing that we're already mid-February, and we still have a title race on our hands. So it feels
Yeah.
All of us said it. All of us said it is going to be closer. All of us said it's going to be a 3 horses race. It's just I believe that Aaron Ten Hag can be the third team up there.
yeah.
Didn't happen, but all of us agreed that this is going to be a much closer title race. So we were spot on. So listen to us more. Hear that?
Yeah. On that topic, I think we should just switch to Serie A. I think the big game, obviously, in Serie A was Roma at home against Inter Milan, and I think it was crazy. There was a moment, and of course, Milan and Napoli haven't played, and Juventus is going to play tomorrow, aka Monday. But Inter came through. BKG. We were watching the game, and Roma seemed like they might be doing something, but Inter's class just showed at the end of the game.
Inter is just miles ahead. Again, we're singing their praises pretty heavily here, and people are not happy that we're not naming Man City as the number one runner-up for the Champions League. But yes, Inter Milan they're running away with it. It's their league. Like there's no ifs and or buts about it. If they lose, it's on them. It was just interesting to see Roma is their first loss after Daniel De Rossi stepped in instead of Jose Mourinho, and they were close to winning it. They scored 2 on Inter, which not a lot of people do, but Inter came under the second half and they just did their business.
Not only did they score 2, but Lukaku fucked up another 2 chances.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that was their biggest mistake, signing Lukaku.
The thing is, Lukaku is just so terrible. But the truth is, I mean, De Rossi, he came in pretty much the best time, right? He had 3 relatively easy games, so 2 or 3 easy games. So this is the first time, but it's a good sign for the rest of the season for Roma, right? I think they're only 3 points behind or 4 points behind the 4th spot, Atalanta, who are currently winning as we're talking. So they could still sneak into the top 4 and get Champions League. That's how, it's like, it's bad. It's not that bad for them.
They could have done it with Jose Mourinho as well. It was a decision that was made I don't know based on what calculations they did it, but De Rossi can make it. It'll just I think this loss came in a time where he probably came in, boosted the spirits, did all that, and now the deflation happens. Now Roma's gonna start
Yeah, you're
getting
back to the
difficult wins.
reality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Get back
exactly.
to
But
reality. Don't push him.
But the thing is, if you're him, you just say, "Hey guys, look, these guys are the Champions League finalists. They're essentially the best team in Europe right now. It's an okay. We showed up. Like we really tried. Yeah, but again, another player we've the Inter team just looks spectacular. I know we keep saying it, but I'm just like there's just something about watching them. I'm like, if you are a football fan, you have to watch Inter Milan this year. Like the way they do their rotations, the way they're flexible, the way they go three in the back, five at the back, the two up front. It's just stunning football, honestly.
I reiterate again, if they're not in the top, like in the four finalists of the Champions League, like in the semifinals, I'll be very surprised.
Me too.
Very, very surprised.
I know.
They're a great team.
Selfishly, I do hope they and City match up, not in the final, but earlier, because
Yeah,
it's realistically they're the two favorites. So one of them, I think Inter could take on City in a two-leg thing, and
definitely.
could absolutely beat them. So that's why I'm really hoping they match up as early as possible.
Yeah, but Serie A title is almost done and dusted for them. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Let's see if the most interesting part is going to be probably the top four race in Serie A from now on. Who's going to finish in that fourth spot? Is it going to be Bologna, Roma, or Atalanta?
Yeah. And Fiorentina is doing pretty well overall. Like going forward, at least they seem a decent team. So they could
Yeah,
be out in the shout. But Bologna, wow, fantastic season, honestly.
yeah.
Just switching gears to the Bundesliga, which is another title race. So this weekend was obviously, I think, the most anticipated game, which was Leverkusen at home against Tommy T and his very mediocre Bayern squad. And what can I say? It was
Tommy
everything we
T.
wanted it to be, right?
Yep.
Tommy T doing overcooking again. What was that? What was that lineup, Tommy T? Huh? Where are all his defenders?
They could not touch Leverkusen, man. They set up
Yeah.
specifically against Leverkusen, they couldn't touch them. Did we not say
Shocking.
that Tommy T is overrated and we got hate for it? Javi Alonso, man, he's the next goat, and he's gonna come to Liverpool.
He really is showing it though, right? He
Yeah,
completely outclassed. I mean, of course, there's like the individual players, and they were up for it, yada yada. But it was completely outclassed tactically. There was nothing. It was boys
See,
against men.
when usually when teams do it, like if you think about it, previous times like Man City, when you play against Man City, when you know like you don't have a clear style of player or you're not confident enough, you start thinking of ways how can I play against them? What can I do? United used to do it. Arsenal used to do it before. It's only Klopp and Pep who never change the way they play, but others people like, oh, I'll play two defensive midfielders. I'll play five at the back because we need to stop City and get a point. That was like historically what people do against a
yeah,
strong team, and this was exactly what happened against this game. And I think the commentator during the game mentioned that they only played this formation once against Mainz, and they lost to Mainz. Mainz being like 17th or 15th in
yeah.
Bundesliga. It shows, it speaks of like not having no confidence in your team, not having no confidence in your players, and playing dire to the end. Like I read a comment somewhere, like you buy Tottenham, you get Tottenham. Like
Yeah. No,
Honestly,
the thing is, if they won, he would be praised for changing up things and setting up and like doing being tactical. So that's not the issue, really. The issue is like he changed up badly and it's stupidly tactical, and it's
yeah,
just not working. And he's not working with Bayern. And I don't know, man. Like you bring in this guy, you throw away potential treble last season because of him, and now he can't even win a Bundesliga. It's not all on Hurricane and his, curse. Someone else has to
true.
take responsibility.
Yeah, I there's a little part of me that feels a little bit of bad. I mean, obviously the season's nowhere near. I mean, they're
Yeah,
still only 5 points ahead, right? Like at the end of the day, that could disappear very quickly. It only takes two or three losses, and then this
yep,
could be. But you just look at Leverkusen, the confidence that they had, and they were missing some of their start. I mean, Frimpong came off the bench. Palacios is
scored
still
a
injured.
brilliant goal though. Like it's a FIFA
Brilliant. His
FIFA 2023 goal. Like
I have to say, Neuer flapping at the header and
yeah,
then conceding was so satisfying. So satisfying. We have to give, I know, just quick shout out, because I know the Shaka, you have to give him credit, right? Like, he bossed that game in the midfield, completely confident.
he is a difference maker in Leverkusen because he brings in that some sort of experience where everyone else is a little bit younger and on the younger side. So he bosses the midfielder and he's the brains of the operation. Leverkusen didn't change the way they play. They played the same
Exactly.
way. They played like they play, and Bayern couldn't do anything because they didn't know how they would play themselves. It was simple as is, and they had no answer. And Harry Kane was a bystander. He was a bystander. Like, do you remember a single moment from Harry Kane in
No,
this
and
game? Yeah, no.
that's a problem, right? Because he was obviously being instructed to stay in between the 18-yard box and not allowed to float as much, which means he's starved of the ball, and that means he's not
Yeah.
involved in the game. So I agree with you completely, completely,
Is
completely.
I
Yeah.
know there's a long way to go. This is now, like before that it was a conversation. We can Leverkusen win it? Can Leverkusen do this? Bayern was still considered a favorite. Now it's Leverkusen titles to lose, and I know
Yeah.
they're unbeaten. And I know they'll probably lose one more game or two more games. But I also think that Bayern is gonna lose, drop more points. Like they will
Yeah,
drop
for
more
Yes,
sure.
points.
For sure.
yes,
And you know, part of it is the Bayern recruitment lately has been strange and unlike them. Because you look
Yeah,
at the current team, like great team, but it's filled with people who are very episodic players. We were talking about Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané has like 10 goals and 8 assists this year, but like you wouldn't say that he's a star because it comes in such weird, episodes. Sometimes he's like great, unplayable, and then you don't hear about him for 2 weeks again. And it's been happening all over. Like they don't really do the smart business anymore, where they would go and raid Borussia for a free Lewandowski, or they would raid someone else, where they would have Robin and Ribery. Like you don't really think about Bayern and someone jumps out as the star.
yeah,
yeah,
I agree. But it makes it good, right? I think in the grand scheme, Leverkusen winning is good for the Bundesliga.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
for
It
sure, for
definitely is.
sure.
On the topic of Leroy Sané, like if Man City's selling a player that they don't want, who's young and had one injury, means that something is wrong. So I knew
I don't know.
immediately once he went to
It's
Bayern.
not Man
It's
City.
like
It's Pep selling, and Pep is just kind of a cunt. So
Yeah, I agree with you. It is Pep. It's Pep is the problem.
yeah,
I think we should switch to the La Liga for a second. So again, another amazing game was predicted. It was top number one versus number two was Real Madrid versus Girona. Essentially battling for their head above everyone else. Um, it was a Real Madrid with no center backs, but against Girona, who are the best attacking team. And the truth is, they completely got rolled over by Real Madrid. Vinicius, it was a 4-0 home win. Vinicius, what do you even say at this stage, right? This was the best versions of Vinny. I think it was one goal or two, sorry, 2 goals and an assist, the number of ridiculous tricks, attacking forward. It was the best possible outcome if you are Real Madrid. It was the sign of champions. I think is safe to
another.
say.
I mean, they're probably winning it. Girona was always a head scratcher slash a far fetched dream that they can compete till the end. Barcelona obviously shot themselves in the foot. With Javi being like, "I'm not staying here anymore. You don't like me anymore. I'm going home." So Barcelona's like
Out.
gone. Yeah. So Real Madrid's taking their deserved spot. Just to shout out Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham, 2 goals in the most important game, along with Vinny, tearing it apart. No defenders, no big deal, as you mentioned. Jude Bellingham has 20 goals, 8 assists this season. 20 goals,
So
8 assists.
ridiculous, right? As a
Yeah,
midfielder, really.
as a midfielder. And he plays like Carlo Ancelotti plays him, and like you play as an attacking midfielder, or you can't play as a left center midfielder. Play as a center back. Play as a goalie. Like he plays all of the players out of the position, and he still gets 20 goals, 8 seasons. Haters will say this is what La Liga is. That's why he does this goals. In my opinion, Jude Bellingham is the first $100 million player who's a bargain. Nobody remembers that he cost 100 million. Declan
Nobody.
Rice as well. Nobody even questions it. The 100 million. But for Caicedo and Lavia, I mean, for Caicedo, nobody just mentions Caicedo
I
just
mean,
because
this
they
is
don't
not.
want to remember. Yeah,
I
but
think the
this,
one other everything you said is so spot on, and I want to do one more shout out, which is Chumani is the whole midfield, right? I think it just feels unfair. We talked about this, I believe, last year. It's like Tony Cruz was making passes that are so difficult, and he looked like he was half asleep.
yeah,
50, 40 meter passes across. I mean, it was just like shocking. Modric is chilling on the bench. Kamavinga and Chumani are just shockingly good.
yeah,
Federico Valverde, and you just look at it and you're like, how the hell is any team supposed to compete with this Real Madrid squad that don't really have a striker right now and don't have
And
their defensive?
now Adam Mbappe there and another central defensive midfielder or the defender, sorry, central defender.
Shocking.
It's shockingly good. And
Shockingly good.
Courtois is not even back. Nobody's even talking about. They have Kepa in goal. Kepa has been ridiculed by everyone. He's their goal.
I,
So I
I
mean,
just like you just look at how they've been hoarding these midfielders. I'm like, oh, their next generation is here. Like Modric and obviously Cruz set the standard, but the truth is, it almost looks like Federico Valverde, Jude Bellingham, Camavinga. They're just gonna pick up where it was
yeah,
left. The level is not going to drop, which is the best
the
you can
level's
say,
not
right?
good.
There's no more compliment to say than
Add to
that.
that, Ancelotti's staying till for another year, unless they do a Javi Alonso swap. But I don't think Javi Alonso's football is compatible with what Real Madrid play. Real Madrid play just a different type of football.
Yeah,
But we'll
fair
see.
enough. I think the last topic to talk, just to touch on, is the Afcon VAR. So this is right before Nigeria versus Ivory Coast, the hosts who have squeaked through magically. I don't know what they did; they don't deserve to be there against Nigeria. But after seeing the terrible decisions and the way VAR is used by the PGMOL, and then seeing at the AFCON, I'm telling you guys right now, I have a solution for the Premier League's VAR problem, which is to fire all the refs and all the VAR and just bring all the people they had for AFCON. It was the best usage of VAR I have ever seen, and I'm gonna die on this hill, guys. Like it is
Explain how. Explain how.
okay. So quickly, I think with the PGMOL and like the Premier League, the refs are waiting for the VAR to help them change their decision. Like if the person comes and says, "Oh, I think you made a mistake," they will always change their mind. But with the Afcon, they're confident and they just say, "Hey, hurry up, give me like, did I make a mistake? Yes or no?" As opposed to like it's their decision first. They're leading the game. All of this second refing stuff, it's like, oh, this hand. There's just a level of confidence versus the Premier League where they're re-refing, like VAR is re-refing. And I think that's like it was so stark seeing them game like back to back. So like you see an Afghan game and then you see a Premier League game. It's just embarrassing, honestly speaking.
I have to agree with you, but I also have a point to make that everything comes from the top. Everything comes from the decisions that's making on top. So the PGMOL told the referees that this is how it's gonna be. It's not that the referees are like, oh, I'm not confident enough to make my call. They make their calls, and they previously, when there was no VAR, they were happy with their calls, and then they would go and rewatch it and be like, oh, fuck, I made a little bit of mistake here. But like now they're like, the PGML told them, okay, we have VAR, you make the call, then we will review it, and then we'll tell you if you made a mistake, and then go watch your mistake, you know, piece of shit, on
Yeah,
that small little
that's
box.
the problem, man.
That's
They
a good
wait
point.
for these people for like 10 minutes to watch it, and then say, oh, I think there's a mistake. And then the referee has to go and watch another 5 minutes of the same shit. Why not just, if there's even a slight chance that there is a mistake, tell the referee, hey, go to the screen, watch it, see? Because the way it happens right now, if the referee goes to the screen, 99% of the time, it's already, there's going to be a change. There's going to be
Yeah,
VAR, like, VAR is going to switch. It's just basically formality just to make sure the referee also sees it. So
Which is
just,
yeah.
frustrating, right?
yeah.
It's very frustrating. But the point is that I think you're right. It should be like an AFCON, but also at the same time, the referees, they don't have the confidence because they know if it's going to get overruled. And the referees who review it also don't have the confidence. That's why they take so long to review it. Like, should we make this call? Is it a foul? What if we position ourselves like this? What if I was a pigeon? Would that be a foul if I was a pigeon? That's what they're doing. Like, they're reviewing this for so long, and then they come with a decision and say, based on this rule, this may be a foul. Come review it too. Like, it should not be like that. They should make one decision and stick with it and go ahead with it, and then find a way to explain it. They find a great excuse to do it when it's Man City or Newcastle. They have no problem with making a call quite fast when it's not a penalty.
Oh, the
Well,
Newcastle penalty that was sorry, the Ione foul that
yeah.
was not given was one of the worst decisions, and yet saying again, right? It's like, can you guys justify how he wasn't given a penalty for that? It was
How,
obviously a foul.
how long did it take VAR to review that? How long?
The fastest I've ever.
Mm.
They're like, oh yeah, yeah,
You,
don't worry, let's just move
you know
on.
why? Because they knew that this is not a decision they have. They have to review it because like people would be protesting, so they just did it again. They were 100% confirmed that okay, we're not going to give this penalty. They just did it for the thing of it. But when they're looking for the opportunity to find a mistake, they'll review like the Wolverhampton Man United one. When they reviewed it thousands of times, and they knew that they needed to give that penalty because the penalty would open up the game more. That's it. That's all. It's what they want to do. It is controlling the narrative and making sure that there's some sort of spice in the game. It's
So
always been
frustrating.
the case. Always been the case. Whenever I also didn't understand the point of like, oh, a big game, and we like you heard this argument all the time, right? When there's a big game and then someone goes and kills another person, and they're like, I hope he doesn't give him a red card. It's a big game. It's going to ruin the game. How is that an argument? That should not be an argument. If he killed a person, you give him a red card, regardless of a big game or not big game. It's a breaking of the rules. You cannot be like, oh, let's play 11 till 11 and kill each other because a red card is
Ah,
just going to spoil the equals.
it's
So
so bad.
they
You
have
know
a
what
narrative and a
spoils the
story.
game? A bad tackle and the injury.
Yeah.
Yes. Ramos Salah. That's every time that comes up, I always think Ramos Salah. That is the top of mind in my life.
You know what's the top of mind? I remember a final between Real Madrid and Juventus, and Ramos got Cuadrado sent off because
Yeah.
he just like touched him on the ground and fell, and then stood up and did this, and they gave him a second yellow.
So
Cuadrado
bad.
didn't do anything. He was just like he bumped into him, and he gave him a yellow. I mean, some calls. I mean, refereeing in general is just shit. I'm glad that Afghan is
Bro,
doing
I
well.
can't wait for the robots to take over. In general, people are just so dumb
Yeah, people
Yeah.
are
everywhere,
dumb.
man.
Final
Uh,
question for you, YT. Afghan is starting in a couple of minutes. Who's your in the next 90 minutes? Who do you think is going to lift the trophy?
I think Nigeria is going to lift the trophy. I think Ivory Coast luck is finally going to run out.
Victor Osimhen? You mean the
Victor.
hostess with them? Mostest are not going to do anything?
Mhm.
Yeah, they're not. They really don't deserve. Honestly, that you look at them, they're a terrible team. I hate to say this to the Ivory Coast fans, but that is one terrible Ivory Coast squad. Really, this.
We're gonna snip it even if Ivory Coast wins it. It's gonna go to the penalties probably. Ivory Coast is gonna win it.
I did this to myself.
I mean, they basically went to the final as a snail. Like that win
Yeah,
against Mali was was
that's
the
what
most
I'm saying.
hilarious win I've ever seen. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. There is Champions League is back this week, so we are blessed with more football. And then we have a terrible. In case anyone wants to torture themselves, Palace versus Chelsea is playing on Monday. Sounds like the worst game to watch, but I think that's
and
a
man
wrap.
walking and man dead walking. That's the two things.
I like
Uh,
that. And on
yeah,
that note, that's a goodbye from us.
yeah. See you next week.
Peace.